Welcome to another one of my random geography and culture facts videos. If it's the middle of the night, you've watched way too many videos of those guys building pools, and you want to learn about something that may be only slightly more useful, you've come to the right place. Let's begin. The partially recognized state of Western Sahara, a former colony of Spain, could be considered the only Arab country with Spanish as an official language. Western Sahara is to many considered Africa's last colony, because it is the last African colonial state yet to achieve independence, currently due to the claim and occupation by Morocco. There is a 69 square kilometer neutral zone between Benin and Burkina Faso. The area was disputed territory between the two countries, but they decided to settle the issue peacefully in 2008 by removing all displayed symbols of sovereignty and their respective militaries. But unfortunately, a hole left by the security forces allowed al-Qaeda-affiliated groups to come in and operate gold mines, so Benin sent their military back in 2023. The North Atlantic Treaty Article 5 states that an armed attack against one or more member countries in Europe or North America shall be considered an attack against them all, but it only covers member states' territories in Europe, North America, Turkey, and islands in the Atlantic north of the Tropic of Cancer, meaning that an attack on the U.S. state of Hawaii and Spanish cities in North Africa would not trigger a response from member states. Article 5 could also not have been invoked by the UK when Argentina invaded the disputed Falkland Islands. The name of the port town on the north coast of Jamaica, Ocho Rios, translates to 8 rivers in Spanish, which is somewhat misleading as there are not actually 8 rivers in the area. 10 miles east of Ocho Rios was the home of Ian Fleming, the author of the James Bond novels. Jamaica named an airport in his honor. The Micronesian island country of Kiribati made some interesting place name choices. London got its name from a French priest who leased the island from Britain between 1917 and 1939. He chose the name to pay tribute to the island's British ties. Paris was named by the same guy because he had a house in Paris. Poland was given in tribute to a Polish mechanic who improved the island's coconut plantation's irrigation system. Banana was named by U.S. servicemen stationed on the island in 1962 while testing nuclear bombs. No one knows why the village was given this name. More of an opinion than a fact, but Turkey may have some of the coolest popular last names. The 20th most popular last name means lightning. At 18, wolf. Number 14 and 11, lion. 13, sword. 12, falcon. 7, thunderbolt. 5, steel. 2, rock. And the most popular surname in Turkey roughly translates to unbeatable or brave. Over 1 million people have this last name, including the current vice president. There are no common Thai last names. Thai law does not allow anyone to create a surname that already exists. Only one family can create any given surname. Any 2 people of the same surname must be related. In Thailand, it's polite to call babies ugly. This practice is rooted in the belief that giving good compliments to a baby might attract the attention of jealous evil spirits that could harm the child. The third most spoken language in South America, with nearly 8 million speakers, is Quechua. This was the language of the Inca Empire, and today is spoken in several dialects across the Andes Mountains. However, Quechua may best be described as a language family. In the Philippines, there's a Spanish Creole language spoken called Chavacano. A 2022 census counted 106,000 households that speak the language. The flag of the Philippines is essentially flipped upside down during wartime, with the red stripe on top and the blue on the bottom. Portuguese is the most widely spoken language in the Southern Hemisphere. There could be millions more people living in Papua New Guinea than the official numbers suggest. In 2022, Papua New Guinea's own official estimate was 11.7 million, with a 3% margin of error. But a United Nations report was leaked that estimated the country's population was around 17 million. The wide range in estimates are largely due to the country's rugged terrain. Small communities are spread across mountains, dense forests, and islands, and without modern infrastructure, the cost of reaching the remote villages is high. Translators are also needed for the 800 plus languages spoken in Papua New Guinea. And as is a common characteristic in many rural areas across the world, there is a stronger distrust of the government in some areas, leading to reluctance to participate in government-led initiatives like a census. The estimates may be more accurate when they conduct a new census. The last one was complete in 2011. According to the People's Linguistic Survey of India, India has the second highest number of languages at 780. But before we move on to the next fact, I want to share with you today's sponsor, Delete Me, a hands-free subscription service that will remove your personal information that's being sold online by data brokers, which are companies that collect personal information about consumers and sell it to other organizations. This information can include your name, demographic data, political preferences, your home address, and your financial situation. But you have the right to stay private and protect your personal data. I trust Delete Me to help prevent foreign governments from collecting information on me. A study conducted by Duke University researchers found that in many cases, it's quite easy and inexpensive to acquire information on military service members and veterans. But Delete Me is also useful if you think you may be threatened for posting your political opinions online, and it makes it harder for stalkers to find information on you or your relatives. My first report came back with 64 listings removed and 50 data brokers were found to have my data, and I'll get a new report every couple of months. Get 20% off Delete Me US consumer plans when you go to joindeleteme.com/GeoGeek and use the promo code GeoGeek at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/GeoGeek, code GeoGeek. Israel has more babies per woman than any developed country in the world at nearly 3. This completely goes against the idea that as countries develop, their fertility rates will drop. There are several reasons for the high rate. For starters, Jewish tradition places a high value on family and encourages large families. The government is a reflection of these values. It subsidizes childcare, gives cash incentives for having children, and free fertility treatments for the first 2 children. There is also a sense among Israeli Jews that they have a duty to replenish their pre-Holocaust population. The global population of Jews is still lower than it was before the start of World War II. 15 million people compared to 16.5 million in 1939. The more religious an Israeli citizen is, the more children. But even secular Jews are having children above the replacement level. On the flip side, according to the United Nations, the average North Korean woman has 1.79 children over her lifetime, a rate that falls short of 2.1 needed to maintain the population. They're, of course, not the only country struggling with declining birth rates, but this is typically an issue that only developed countries face. North Korea is one of the poorest. The low fertility rate has been attributed to several causes: a high rate of women in the workforce, North Korea offering universal education early in its history, and the availability of contraceptives since the 1970s. This has resulted in lower maternal death rates, a lower teen pregnancy rate, a higher rate of women at their first marriage, yet few can afford to have children, and therefore the overall fertility rate is low. There are over 20 extinct volcanoes off the coast of Massachusetts called the New England Seamounts. They formed between 103 and 83 million years ago by what is known as the New England or Great Meteor Hotspot. Before forming these volcanoes, this hotspot formed the White Mountains. Within this range, the summit of Mount Washington holds the record for the fastest wind speed not associated with a tornado or hurricane, at 231 miles per hour. The chain was created as the North American continent drifted west, and the hotspot moved offshore. As the Atlantic Ocean continued to expand, the hotspot continued to move east, eventually forming the Great Meteor Seamount as recent as 11 million years ago. Tarawa, an atoll and the capital of the Republic of Kiribati, may have the smallest range in mean temperatures in the world, ranging from 28.1 degrees Celsius in February and 28.6 degrees Celsius in October. There are twice as many Mongols living in China at 6.3 million than there are in Mongolia at 3 million. Palau's capital of Nurulmud is the least populous capital city of a sovereign nation in the world. No people are known to live within its boundaries, but statistics are not separated from the state in which Nurulmud is located, which had a population of 318 in 2020. According to some sources, Tonga has the highest percent of Mormons of any country, at 60%. Until 1997, the country of Samoa was known as Western Samoa. American Samoa, a territory of the United States, protested against the name change, asserting that it diminished its own identity. If you look at maps of the Americas ranging from the 16th to the 20th centuries, many of them have an island within the Gulf of Mexico called Bermeja. But on modern maps, it's not there. It made its final appearance on a map in 1922, and the island was pretty much forgotten about until 3/4 of a century later, when in 1997, the US and Mexican governments were in negotiations over oil around the Yucatan Peninsula. See, a country's sovereign right to resources exceeds 200 miles into the sea from the country's land borders. But this left a donut hole between the United States and Mexico, so neither country could claim any oil or other natural resources in these areas. But if Bermeja existed where it was shown on old maps, then Mexico's right would stretch into the donut hole and partially into what is currently U.S. territory. Mexico made many attempts to find the island, but never could, sparking a conspiracy that the U.S. government destroyed the island. What is known as the Vietnam War in the United States is understandably known as the American War in Vietnam. Uruguay is the least religious country in the Americas. Nearly 45% of its citizens are non-religious. Eastern Germany could be considered the least religious region in the world. In some states, over 70% of the population is non-religious. In 2011, a 75-year-old Georgian woman cut off the internet to the entire country of Armenia for more than 12 hours when she sliced through an underground cable while digging to steal copper. Oman's capital was at one time in Africa. Its 19th century ruler, Said bin Sultan, moved the capital of his empire from Muscat to Stone Town on Zanzibar Island in 1840. It was moved back to Muscat in 1856 following the ruler's death, as control over the region was lost. In the Spanish village of Castrillo de Murcia, called El Colacho, which is part of the Catholic feast of Corpus Christi, usually held in late May or early June. During El Colacho, men dressed as the devil run through the streets of the village, leaping over infants born in the previous 12 months. The act is believed to cleanse the babies of original sin, protect them against evil spirits, and ensure their safe passage through life. This tradition dates back to 1620. Ghana has 6 witch camps, housing a total of around 1,000 women. The camps exist so that women accused of witchcraft can have a safe place to live without fear of being killed by neighbors. Many women in such camps are widows. Relatives are believed to accuse them of witchcraft in order to seize their late husband's possessions. In 1847, the U.S. government attempted to purchase the Isthmus of Tehuantepec in order to build a southern connection between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. However, Mexico had already authorized a Mexican citizen to build a railway in the region. But in 1850, U.S. investors purchased his concession. The Mexican government was never comfortable with the U.S. presence, and the project slowly deteriorated. U.S. investors lost an estimated $140 million, adjusted to today's value. The name of the country Chad is derived from Lake Chad. The lake itself takes its name from a Kanuri word meaning large body of water or lake, so Lake Chad means lake. And that's all for this video. Don't forget to check out some of my other random facts videos. I've linked a playlist. Thank you to all my Patreon and YouTube members for supporting the channel, and thank you all for watching.